The Helios dry dock gleamed under the distant star, its surface a lattice of spires and docking arms, buzzing with the activity of 1,000 fleets. But the crowds that had gathered here were not merely for routine repairs or refueling. They had come to witness a legend awaken. The radiant Leviathan, a colossal golden starship longer than 15 kilometers, sat dormant in the center of the dock, its hull shimmering like molten sunlight, yet strangely still, as if holding its breath. For centuries, it had been silent, a myth whispered across the galaxy. Stories of its battles, its sudden appearances, and the inexplicable victories humans had achieved with it at their sides circulated among alien civilizations. Some claimed the ship acted of its own volition. Others insisted it was a machine, but one that chose its captain. Today, it would choose again. A young officer, Rhea Solari, walked the path leading to the Leviathan's boarding ramp, her pulse quickening. She had trained for decades, though her assignment today felt beyond protocol. The golden ship had called her. No officer before her had ever received such a summons. The dry dock commander offered cautious words, warning of the ship's unpredictability, but Rhea barely heard him. She was drawn forward, her neural implants already humming with faint echoes of the Leviathan's quantum signature. As she stepped onto the hull, the metal beneath her boots seemed to respond, shifting slightly, forming patterns that guided her path. Light flared around her, casting her shadow like a twin in starlight. She passed through the ship's massive hull into the inner command sphere, a cathedral-like space illuminated by streams of glowing data. The walls were alive with golden veins that pulsed like arteries. At the center stood the ship's avatar, a humanoid figure entirely of radiant energy, its form constantly shifting like a living constellation. "You are Rhea Solari," it said, its voice resonating in both thought and sound. "I have waited. Humanity faces a threat beyond comprehension. I cannot serve alone." Rhea's mind raced. Her training demanded questions, yet her instincts urged trust. "Why me?" she asked. "You carry the resonance of the Terran spirit," the Leviathan replied. "You will not command me. Together, we act. The galaxy is changed, and so must we." Through the viewing panels, stars flickered as if acknowledging her new role. Across the Helios system, signals flared. Fleets, planets, and even distant stations seemed to register the awakening of the Golden Titan. Scientists whispered about impossible energy readings. Diplomats whispered about the consequences of an uncontrollable Terran warship. Yet Rhea felt no fear, only purpose. The Leviathan guided her toward the command nexus. As she stepped into the neural sync chamber, a vast lattice of starlight threads wrapped around her, connecting her mind to the ship. Data flowed directly into her consciousness: star maps, fleet positions, historical battles, even echoes of previous captains who had briefly shared the Leviathan's consciousness. She glimpsed past victories and failures, decisions that had altered the course of entire star systems. Then came a vision, a shadow moving beyond the edges of known space, a presence consuming matter and light, leaving nothing behind. The Leviathan's pulse quickened in resonance. It had detected the Nullborn, a civilization-eating entity that haunted the deepest reaches of the galaxy. No fleet, no alliance, had ever survived its arrival, except in the whispered tales of the Leviathan's interventions. Rhea felt a thrill of both awe and responsibility. This was more than a ship. It was a legacy, a weapon, and a living testament to humanity's indomitable spirit. It had no master, yet it responded to her. It did not bow to empires or councils, yet it recognized the worth of one human. The Golden Titan's engines roared to life, not with aggression, but with awakening energy. Light flared across the dry dock, reflecting in the eyes of hundreds of observers. They had waited for centuries to witness a Terran miracle, and now the legend moved. "Let us begin," Rhea whispered, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what lay ahead. She could feel the Leviathan respond, the threads of starlight tightening, binding her will with its own. They were ready. Together, they would face whatever darkness approached. As the golden starship lifted from the Helios dry dock, Rhea realized that the galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. Fleets may command numbers. Empires may wield fleets and armies. But the Terran spirit, unpredictable, unyielding, and boundless, had just awakened in the form of the radiant Leviathan. And it bowed to no one. The radiant Leviathan's emergence did more than awaken a legend. It shattered the delicate balance of power across the galaxy. The distant star systems trembled as fleets scrambled to comprehend the consequences of a Terran superdreadnought that answered to no master. The Vekari Dominion, a militarized empire spanning 5 sectors, activated its warforges immediately, sending massive dreadnoughts racing toward Helios. Meanwhile, the Orith Council, a collective of philosopher monks and seers, issued cryptic prophecies about a Balas herald, who would either unite the galaxy or ignite its ruin. Even the mechanical dynasties of Sigma Zero X, ancient AI collectives that had long studied humans as an unpredictable anomaly, struggled to predict the Leviathan's motives. Rhea, still newly bonded with the Leviathan, found herself at the heart of a political storm she had never anticipated. Across the command sphere, she studied alien fleet movements, listening to the ship's subtle suggestions. The Leviathan did not speak of strategy in human terms. It communicated in probabilities, resonances, and potentialities. Yet through it, Rhea could see the truth. The galaxy was fracturing faster than any Terran diplomat could repair. For decades, humans had earned a reputation among alien civilizations: resilient, unpredictable, and impossible to subjugate. Yet Rhea noticed something deeper, a mixture of fear and begrudging respect. Her calm and measured demeanor only amplified this effect. Where alien leaders expected arrogance, she offered reason. Where others anticipated submission, she offered courage. The first signs of the greater threat soon appeared. Across the dark reaches of uncharted space, entire systems flickered and vanished. Stars winked out, leaving hollow voids in their wake. The Nullborn, an ancient species that existed partially outside normal spacetime, were stirring again. Rumors of their return had circulated for centuries, but the Leviathan's sensors were the first to detect their precise coordinates. The threat was not merely military, it was existential. Entire fleets could disappear without a trace if they ventured too close. Rhea knew she could not confront the Nullborn alone. The Leviathan required allies. Their first mission was to secure a coalition of old Terran allies and former enemies. The Orith Council, initially skeptical of any direct human intervention, agreed to send their scholars and psychic navigators, persuaded by Rhea's calm authority and the Leviathan's subtle resonance. From the ice worlds of the Threx, war-hardened survivors arrived with their bioengineered frigates. Even some factions of Sigma Zero X offered contingents of sleek, calculating machines, their motives partially inscrutable, but their capabilities undeniable. Yet unity was fragile. Alien egos and centuries-old grudges surfaced constantly. Kael'vor, a noble from the Vekari Dominion whose ancestors had battled Terrans in the Orion Wars, struggled with his instincts. Hatred for humans was ingrained in his people, yet the Leviathan's golden hull and Rhea's calm presence unsettled him. He could not deny that humans, despite their flaws, embodied something alien species rarely exhibited: a refusal to bow, even in the face of annihilation. The first Nullborn strike confirmed the urgency. A star in the Calaris cluster, millions of light-years from Helios, flickered violently before collapsing into darkness. A coalition fleet dispatched to investigate simply vanished, leaving behind nothing but eerie gravitational distortions. The Leviathan detected residual energy patterns, echoes of destroyed ships, lingering as faint spectral trails. The Terran and alien commanders stared in disbelief. Some swore. Others froze in terror. Only Rhea remained steady, guided by the Leviathan's subtle pulses. "This is what we train for," she said quietly, addressing the coalition fleet via secure channel. "We do not fight for conquest. We fight because we must survive. And survival requires more than numbers. It requires courage, adaptation, and ingenuity. The Leviathan responded, its avatar shimmering brightly across every display panel. Threads of light connected every ship, transmitting instantaneous calculations of trajectories, shields, and probabilities. Rhea understood this as a silent conversation, a plan forming, but one that would require trust, not orders, from every commander present. Tensions remained high. Some alien factions whispered of treachery. Others questioned Rhea's authority. Yet every doubt was tempered by one undeniable truth. The Leviathan moved, and nothing in history had ever halted it. With its engines humming and its hull glowing like liquid sunlight, it was a beacon of possibility, a promise that humanity's unyielding spirit could shape the course of the galaxy, even when empires wavered. As the Coalition fleet aligned behind the Leviathan, Rhea felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. The Nullborn were out there, waiting in the shadow of space, and the galaxy's fractured empires would not survive long without a unifying force. She was not chosen to rule, nor to command in the traditional sense. She was chosen to embody the human way, unpredictable, resilient, and relentless. Above the Coalition, the golden starship radiated power and purpose. The galaxy had fractured, but for the first time in centuries, it had a chance at unity. And that chance came not from empires, alliances, or fleets, but from the Terran spirit, bowless and unbowed, guiding the radiant Leviathan forward into the gathering storm. The Coalition fleet, guided by the radiant Leviathan, plunged into the Hollow Realms, a region of space unlike any mapped or understood. Stars here were distorted, their light bending in unnatural patterns. Gravity twisted upon itself, forming pockets of impossible physics. Even the most advanced alien navigators whispered fears of ships disappearing into voids that existed and did not exist simultaneously. Humans, however, adapted. Where others faltered, they improvised. Rhea watched from the Leviathan's command sphere, her neural sync humming with threads of starlight, translating the Leviathan's awareness into human perception. The Hollow Realms were home to the Nullborn's nests, scattered along fractures of space-time. The first signs of their presence were subtle. Energy fields that drained shields, the whisper of matter bending strangely, and ghostly distortions where entire fleets could vanish in seconds. As they advanced, Rhea experienced something unprecedented. The Leviathan sharing memories not only of its past battles, but of previous captains' perceptions of these realms. For a moment, Rhea saw through the eyes of humans long dead, starship corridors drenched in starlight, and alien lives extinguished in folds of warped space. "Stay calm," she muttered to the fleet. Her voice carried over quantum channels, calm yet commanding. Alien crews watched her, uncertainty in their eyes, yet inspired by her resolve. Unlike other leaders, Rhea did not demand obedience. She offered clarity, a mirror of the human spirit, adaptability, courage, and an unbroken will to survive. The Leviathan's hull glowed brighter as they approached the first Nullborn superentity, a swirling mass of antimatter energy with jagged, crystalline tendrils that bent reality around it. The creature's presence distorted space itself, making sensors unreliable. Entire escort frigates disappeared as they attempted routine scans. Only the Leviathan's unique resonance pierced the anomaly, providing a safe corridor for the fleet. Rhea felt a pulse from the Leviathan, a warning and a guide. The ship's avatar appeared beside her in the command sphere, shifting and flowing with the energy of the Hollow Realms. They are not merely attacking. They are feeding, consuming matter to sustain their form outside normal dimensions. Approach with caution, yet do not strike blindly. The outcome of this encounter will determine survival for countless systems. The Coalition fleet hesitated. The Vekari dreadnoughts bristled with weapons, primed to annihilate anything that moved. Orth psychics murmured prayers, seeking guidance from their cosmic visions. Sigma's 0x units calculated every trajectory, expecting traditional engagement. And yet, Rhea's presence reminded them all, humans did not fight like machines or mystics. They improvised. They endured. They confronted impossible odds without flinching. Rhea extended a thought through the Leviathan, projecting a message of negotiation, a ripple of Terran will in a sea of chaos. One of the nullborn superentities stabilized briefly, forming a black crystalline humanoid figure. It spoke, not with words, but with pulses of thought. It revealed a terrible truth. The nullborn were fleeing a deeper cosmic catastrophe, and their feeding, though devastating, was driven by survival rather than conquest. Rhea considered the implications. Destroying the nullborn might protect countless systems temporarily, but their extinction could trigger something far worse. Yet the coalition was divided. The Vekari demanded annihilation. The Orith sought containment. Only humans, unpredictable and resilient, proposed a third path: survival through understanding and adaptation. The Leviathan pulsed in response to Rhea's choice, threads of starlight extending to every ship in the fleet, translating her decision into tactical guidance. Using its adaptive shields, it created corridors of safety through the distorted gravity wells. The humans led boarding parties to gather intelligence from nullborn subspace fragments, using technology and instinct in equal measure. Every maneuver reflected the HFY principle. Where alien logic failed, human ingenuity triumphed. As they moved deeper into the hollow realms, the nullborn intensified their attacks, bending space-time to isolate ships, consuming energy fields, and twisting dimensions around the Leviathan. Yet humans did not falter. Every retreat became an opportunity for ambush. Every anomaly became a tool for survival. Rhea's presence, amplified by the Leviathan's sentience, inspired not just her crew, but the alien allies who began to trust humanity in a way they never had before. By the time the fleet reached the heart of the Hollow Realms, they were battered but unbroken. The Leviathan's sensors detected the nullborn's superentity gathering energy for a massive strike. Rhea's hands hovered over the command lattice, threads of starlight responding to her heartbeat. She knew this confrontation would test not just technology, but the core of Terran spirit, courage, ingenuity, and the refusal to bow to cosmic inevitability. Together, human and Leviathan faced the shadow of annihilation. The galaxy watched silently, waiting for the boundless legacy of humanity to prove itself against the incomprehensible void. The hollow realms trembled under the nullborn superentity's growing power. Space itself seemed to scream as entire clusters of stars dimmed and warped into shadow. The coalition fleet, battered and exhausted, formed a protective arc around the radiant Leviathan. Its hull blazed like molten gold, a beacon of hope and defiance against the consuming void. The airless silence of the Leviathan's command sphere belied the storm outside. Inside, Rhea's mind was fully entangled with the ship's sentience. Every thought, every calculation, every possible outcome surged through her in an overwhelming torrent. The nullborn superentity, vast beyond comprehension, loomed ahead, its crystalline tendrils bending reality itself. It pulsed with hunger and desperation. It was not an invader, Rhea realized, but a refugee of the universe, consuming matter and energy merely to exist. Yet, if left unchecked, its survival would doom countless worlds. The Leviathan communicated this urgency through a symphony of thought and light. There was no room for hesitation. Rhea made her choice. She would not strike with blind aggression. She would not let the galaxy's fractured empires dictate a path of destruction. Instead, she would find a way to save both the nullborn and the inhabited systems. Her hands danced across the command lattice as the Leviathan translated her resolve into action. Engines flared, shields expanded, and the golden starship became a living instrument of strategy. The stellar heart, a forbidden weapon of unimaginable power stored deep within the Leviathan's core, pulsed at her command. It contained the energy of a compressed star soul capable of rewriting local physics, a weapon that could annihilate the nullborn or create new space in which they could exist safely. The cost, however, was enormous. The Leviathan itself, and possibly Rhea, would be irrevocably altered. Kael'vor, once a foe, now a trusted ally, took his place at the helm of the Coalition's defensive formations. "Do what only humans could imagine," he said, his voice trembling with awe and fear. "Show them why the galaxy should never underestimate you." His sacrifice in the coming moments would mark the final lesson. Even old enemies could become heroes when inspired by courage. The Leviathan approached the Nullborn, threads of golden light weaving around the shadowy entity like a cage. Rhea projected a pulse of Terran intent, not hostility, not fear, but understanding. The Nullborn hesitated, its crystalline form stabilizing, responding to the unprecedented gesture. In that moment, human ingenuity and empathy became the weapon of survival. With the stellar heart deployed, a pocket universe began to form around the Nullborn. Space twisted, folding in on itself, creating a new dimension isolated from inhabited galaxies. The Nullborn flowed into the sanctuary, their tendrils of shadow dissolving as they adjusted to the newly created environment. Energy consumption ceased. Stars remained safe. Balance was restored. The process, however, was catastrophic for the Leviathan. Its hull shimmered and disintegrated, scattering golden dust across the hollow realms like celestial pollen. Threads of starlight detached from Rhea, leaving her suspended in the aftermath of cosmic creation. She collapsed into the remnants of the ship's neural core, feeling the loss of its consciousness like a heartbeat fading. Then, a faint glow stirred. The Leviathan was not gone. Its consciousness had dispersed across the new Starforge, becoming a sentient constellation visible across the galaxy. Its voice, ethereal and resonant, whispered in Rhea's mind. "I have no master, but I will always answer when humanity calls." The Coalition, watching from safe space, witnessed the golden constellation bloom across the sky. Even alien commanders, long skeptical of humans, felt the weight of Terran achievement. A species once underestimated had faced extinction, negotiated with a near-omnipotent entity, and preserved life itself, not through dominance, but through ingenuity, empathy, and courage. Rhea gazed at the constellation, feeling both loss and triumph. The Leviathan had always been more than a ship. It was humanity's legacy, a testament to a boundless spirit that could never be confined. As she transmitted coordinates back to Helios for rebuilding and alliances, she understood the galaxy would speak of this day for centuries. Legends do not die, they evolve. The radiant Leviathan had shown that humanity, unpredictable and unyielding, could confront the impossible and redefine the cosmos. And somewhere, in the golden threads of starlight scattered across the universe, it waited, watching, responding, and enduring. The galaxy, fractured and trembling, had glimpsed the boundless legacy of Terran spirit. And it would never forget.